Hi everybody, this week we're going to be looking further into virtues, to strength acknowledgement, to appreciative inquiry. And I want you to really start to get a handle on that in your conversations. So, how did you guys go with looking at the strengths, virtues and strengths list, the VIA? Check in with that, and as you're having conversations with people this week, see where you can notice that they've got some of those values in action going on. Then, when you're having conversations with people, start to really use that appreciative inquiry model. The appreciative inquiry model is possibly one of the most powerful ways that you can create a positive frame around a conversation. So really dive into that chapter and look at really, especially the questions. When you were doing assessment 2A, there's a lot of people struggled with, well, what kind of questions do I ask? And these questions that are in the appreciative inquiry list are really amazing. They really do help you to not only to help people to open up and go a little deeper, but to do it in a positive way. Often when we question, we have a negative idea in mind, so we're thinking there's something wrong, so let's find out what's going on with that. Appreciative inquiry helps us to switch that over to the other side and work in the area of, well, what's going right? What's the dream? And bring it well and truly around to the positive side. So really look at those questions in appreciative inquiry. The whole model is fantastic, especially though, dive into the questions. And when you're doing your assessment 2C, use those ones. Really use those questions, yeah? And the third one is now we're looking at virtues and strengths. So this week, really, as you're talking with people, try to really identify what strengths they're displaying, even if you've got a negative reaction coming up to somebody. So say you're in a classroom and you're teaching a child who is being loud and disrupting the class. As well as going, okay, they're being loud and they're disrupting the class, look for the virtues there. Look for the other parts of it, like they're being expressive and they're, so go through that list and really look at, okay, what are the actual virtues in this? Because it's not that there's bad behaviour and there's nothing else going on. There are behaviours that have both the negative side, but they also have the positive side. I have 2 kids, and there are behaviours that they do that are really hard to deal with, but part of that is them putting boundaries in place. They're being clear about what they want, they're speaking up when they're not happy, they're showing their emotions. All of these things are virtues and strengths, but we could then look at that as, okay, well, they're being naughty, they're throwing a tantrum, so we can skew the way that we look at things so that it has that really positive virtue side of it, and that's what we want to look at this week. Now with assessment 2C, now this is the one where a lot of students really fall down, and I've given you an extra week because I want you to really be practicing and practicing and practicing. So you've got the whole of the rest of this week and all of next week to really practice reflecting values in action, reflecting strengths, and using the appreciative inquiry model in your assessment. Now, a couple of things on the assessments. It's still an assessment. Just because it's a discussion board doesn't mean that it can have poor spelling, that it can be badly formatted. You've got a limited amount of words, so be really, really careful with them, like really precise with your words. Think about what the most important information to share is. So don't pad it out with a whole lot of information about the assessment. I don't need to know that. What I need to know is, get in there, get into the meat of it. How was that experience? How did that work? What worked? What didn't? What were your strengths? What were your challenges that you came across? What difference did having that conversation make to yourself and possibly to the other person? And where do you see that in other people, the way they communicate with you, and what difference does that make to you? I want you to really be reflective. A quarter of the marks are for showing deeper level of thinking. So you really need to dive into this above the surface level and look at, well, what's really going on under the surface of using these skills. Okay, so have an extra week with Assessment 2C. Really get in there, play with this. This stuff, I just think that it is incredible. It makes such a difference to conversations when we're using appreciation, we're acknowledging strengths and virtues, where we're really connecting with somebody on the positive side of things. And I look forward to reading your posts and seeing what's going on for you with this in your communication and the difference that it makes. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.